Today we're going to be swapping the transmission in an RX7 FB. This transmission specifically has got to be the worst case I've ever seen of a transmission before failure. First gear. So first of all, this is the middle, so you can push over from it. It has no return spring. Push into first. This is not first gear. Second gear, not second gear. That's a gear. That's a gear. It looks okay because we changed the actual shifter, but the transmission, it does not go into gear. We're gonna take this whole panel out. This car was used to race, so basically everything is missing. First, you take your shift knob out. There'll be clips around your shift boot. Mine, not so much, so it just pops off. All right, so once you have all that off, it's a 3 10mm bolts here to take the shifter out. You're gonna wanna take this out just to drop the transmission. So we're just gonna be working with a jack stand for today. We gotta get looking at the bell housing, probably around 2 feet of clearance at the front, because what we'll do is we'll take the bell housing here, back it up off the clutch, drop it down, and then just pull it out. I did it on my Miata, it works just fine. Obviously not as beautiful and pretty as when you do have a full lift, but my garage currently has no lift and is completely filled with parts for this project car behind me. Although I did say that the bell housing was about 2 feet, that was an estimate, so we're just gonna quickly go measure it just to make sure. A little under 15 inches long, or tall. The only jack stands I currently have that aren't in use are these absolutely enormous truck axle stands. So we're gonna have to figure out how to make these work underneath this little car. Alright, I've opted for the sketchy way. I don't have any jacks that are gonna fit. I could put a scissor jack, but I mean, to be fair, it's out of the Miata, and I think I genuinely would trust a couple blocks of wood more than that. Oh, coming down pretty fast. Is it fine? Oh, 14 inches of clearance. I think the bell housing will manage. Oh, go ahead, just lower it. Keep going. Oh, it's not on that side at all anymore. All right, so right in here, we have the slave cylinder. This is the piece of hydraulic that pushes the actual fork in and disengages your clutch. So we just have to unbolt that. It looks like there's just a 12mm bolt on the back here. Once you have that guy removed, you can just kind of move out of the way.
Once you're torquing on your lug nuts, but you're locked in.
These transmissions have only 5 bolts to worry about to actually disconnect. There's one right here, that guy right there, that bolt down here, that bolt right there. All right, climbing underneath the car here, we need to get the drive shaft out, which is of course underneath this enormous heat shield. So that'll be the first step. Unbolt all those, drop the heat shield down so we can get at the drive shaft. Actually, we don't even need to, we just need to undo the bolts and pull it from on top. There's 4 12mm bolts in this differential over here. Undo those, then you can just slide the drive shaft out. Yeah, we gotta jack up the rear. All right, for the rear, we've decided to jack up off the diff. Okay, it's separating.
Where does it need to go?
Oh, it's a bolt. Oh, dude, the bolt just comes out the back.
Someone didn't read the forum.
There we go, broke loose. Wiggle it into the transmission, lower it a little bit, and then start pulling it back. Oh! Alright, so we forgot to drain the transmission. So now there's transmission fluid leaking everywhere. Oh, it's leaking out that part of the heat shield as well. Before you drain any manual transmission, you always want to make sure the fill plug is openable. In our case, it is not in the new one. Yeah, it definitely will come out. But make sure you do that before you drain your oil. After heating it, she's moving. Definitely did not want to go, but she's coming out. So that's good. All right, next up, we're gonna need to take the speedometer cable out. That's this guy right here. It's just threaded into the transmission right here. It should just lightly spin off. And then you just take that cable all the way out. All right, there's a neutral safety switch. There's like so many cobwebs under this thing. Oh, I got one. Next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna undo the starter. Oh yeah, the starter's like out. Oh, not quite out. Tiny bit more.
That's a long one, holy cow.
Yeah. It also has 2 wires on it.
It's probably just the grounds.
Yeah. There's this 14 mil right here that we gotta get off. There's also this one just over here. Really easy to get at. For these motors, especially in the FBs, because the subframe's back here for the transmission, there's a lot of weight if you don't lift the engine up. So you have to put something underneath there to hold it up before you take the transmission and the transmission subframe out. All right, so we're gonna have to take this heat shield off. It looks like a bunch of 10mm bolts. We'll just quickly unbolt that. All right, it's really late now. It's been about an hour since we've started working on just the heat shield, the worst heat shield in the world to get off. So while he works on that, I'm gonna start getting these top transmission bolts out. Heat shield is finally loose. So I'm just gonna reef-on it until it comes out. I got it. I got it. At this point though, we need to worry about the actual brace coming out right here. So I'm gonna put the jack from that side just to hold it up while we wiggle it out. When you're dropping this thing, try to get right in front of the drain plug. That's where you're gonna have the balance so that you don't have to worry about tipping once you pull it back. Our bushing actually just ripped in half, which probably was not helping anything, but this bushing's still intact, so we're just gonna mount the brace from this one onto this one, take the swap.
I didn't really get any good footage of this. Basically, all you want to do, put the jack underneath that drain bolt that I showed you. That'll keep it balanced. And once all the bell housing bolts and everything that is holding the transmission to the engine is out, just tap the very back of the transmission with a mallet. That'll kind of break the seal in between the engine and the transmission. And then slowly lower the jack and pull the transmission off of the clutch, and this will allow the whole transmission to come off. One thing you have to worry about is at the very back of the transmission, it'll still hit the transmission tunnel if you don't drop it enough, so use the jack that is under the oil pan to your advantage. The reason we put the jack under the oil pan is because these motors in the FBs only had the mounting at the front, and because of that, what will happen is if you have nothing there, the whole engine will want to try to droop down in the back, so use that to your advantage when you're taking the transmission out. You can let it go down a little bit, just don't let it fall all the way down. Transmission is on the floor, getting dragged out now. Uh-oh. What's it hitting?
The frame.
Finally, 3 hours, it's coming out. All right, now we just gotta do everything in reverse, but it's obviously gonna be 30 minutes easier, 30 minutes faster. So what time is it right now?
115.
Let me tell you guys something, it was not faster going back in. Everything's hooked up, it's just transmission fluid. The only thing that's keeping us sane, the only thing keeping us sane right now is sweet and salty. Damn, these are 75% off. Damn, how many have you had?
It'll be the third.
Alright, so running great-ish. The gears work though, that's the main part. You can start. This is like the first test drive we had where we could enjoy the car. Rotary is just so much fun. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching us break down after spending 7 hours changing this car's transmission. I have to work in. He wants me at the job site at like 9.
Well, because he always shows up late.
Yeah.